Welcome to Behind the Code, brought to you by Atomic Build. My name is Amit. Today I have with me Millin from WorkLayer. Super excited to have you here, Millin. I'd love to hear an intro about yourself and your company, so I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah. Hey, my name is Millin. I am co-founder and CEO of WorkLayer. And WorkLayer, we are building one password for agents. That's one way to describe what we do. And the second way is, if a bit more technical crowd, it's inference environment for agents. And I can go deeper into that in a second, but my background is I'm a machine learning engineer. I studied mechatronics, and I've been in this AI space since 2016. So about a decade of experience here.
Wow. That is ahead of the curve when it comes to like understanding how AI systems work. And when you say inference for agents, if you don't mind giving by the way, great toggle on your site, the technical, non-technical site. I love that. I think I
Yeah.
mentioned to you before when I reached out to you. If you were able to give two definitions, the non-technical first and the technical one after, that'd be great. I think it'll help people understand a bit better what you're working on.
Yeah. So one of the things that WorkLayer is building is this foundation layer so that agents can go and take actions on their own behalf or on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we simplified the tagline to one password to agents, one password for agents.
Right.
The reason for that is that one password for agents basically means the same way we are using one password or password manager. We have our credentials in there, and then when we are on a website, it helps us inject that credential and use that to log in, and then we can do whatever we want in the app.
Mm-hmm.
As agents do more and more work for us in the background, they're not going to go and use websites the same way we do, right? So there's different kinds of credentials agents would need. There will be access token for your APIs. It could be just API key directly. It could be some other form of session cookie, et cetera, if it's using browser. So agents can use websites in different ways. That means we had to create something novel for the agents. And second thing is, one password only stores, for us humans, only stores the credential. That's the whole job. It's a vault.
Mm-hmm.
And you can share it with other people, et cetera. That's another feature. But with agents, you have to reimagine what that means. Because not only agents need the credential, they also can now take actions. So you can design the permission on each action that you can say, this agent can use this tool. I auto approve this one. For this one, agent has to confirm with me before, so I get notification, even though agent could be working in the background at like some random time, I would get this list of notifications. So when we think of one password for agents, we're almost underselling it, but it's the easiest way for non-technical folks to kind of wrap their head around that. Okay, if agents are going to be doing work in the background for us, this is the way that you can securely connect your agent to other things. You can control everything from one place. It's your wallet of apps that your agents can use. And not only apps, it can then also put memories and skills, and then you can take that across different agents.
So if you were to explain this to a business leader who understands AI, they're using it, they've asked their organization to start using it, but they don't quite understand the part about governing an agent because they've never implemented an agent, how would you explain it to them just for their first approach?
That's a good question. So if a business leader is trying to figure out how they can deploy agents for their use case, they have a lot of open questions. And my approach has always been, first of all, do they know that the agent can do the things that they want it to do? And there are business leaders who are very well versed in that. There are business leaders who don't know and need education in that. So my first point would be, okay, if you don't even know what tool calls are, first we need to show you that this agent is capable of doing this. Once company and business leaders are at that stage where they understand that agents can basically take any actions and there's different levels of intelligence and you want the model switching and all that, they come with a list of requirements. They want to be able to not tie to any vendor, right? So we offer that. They want access control. They want to control which employee can connect to what apps. And this is one of the big ones that a lot of companies are still just trying to figure this out. And this is where we kind of win the conversation with them, because we can easily come and say, you get this list of employees. For each employee, your admin accounts can control which connectors are available. In those connectors, which permissions you want. So if you want your sales team to never be able to send out emails, or any company-wide, you don't want anyone to send out emails via agents, you can set that permission and you can allow the agents to then draft the emails instead. And when an agent drafts the email, they sit in your inbox, they never get sent. So now the responsibility part from a business leader's point is like, I want people to use agents to draft emails. I don't want them to use to send the emails out because that could be miscommunication that can happen there. So now the responsibility layer for business leader now falls on each individual employee. And this is what business leaders get is when you have agents and people working, every agent run is responsible and backstopped by a human. And you can set that permission layer using WorkLayer. That's basically the sell that we do.
Got it. So I guess like a natural question for me would be, do people interpret it as a division of decisions? Meaning like, what do they think of it like, okay, what is the agent going to decide? What is WorkLayer going to handle? And where does my team come in? Or like, where does a human come in? Is this a natural response? And then how do you then give back feedback when someone comes to that kind of conclusion?
Yeah, this is not what people think about the first thing that they come to us. They're not like, I want to have decision and control, because people are not even at the stage where they have given employees freedom to use agents. And if they have, it's very ad hoc. So there are very few companies that would have this issue, because even if you let people use Claude today, out of the workforce, maybe 2 or 3% of the people are connecting Gmail to it and sending out emails via it. So the problem is not really experienced. And the people who do connect Claude to their Gmail, they are kind of well versed in it. But imagine now you roll it out to 98% and people have no education on how to use it. That's where the real challenge is. There's one kind of customer that wants everyone to start using Claude more. And there's the education piece that's missing. And a part of it is just like, hey, let me show you. The security part is something you're concerned about. We already solved that. But let me show you what happens when you give everyone in your company an agent that talks to their tools, right? You can see the data behind how people are using these systems, what kind of work people are doing. You get all that data as well as like just added bonus, because now you can see how employees are using different tools through the queries that they're making to Claude. So there's a lot of benefit, but the decision-making part is once you start building a workflow, then those decisions starts coming in. Once you say, okay, I want this to be done this much by people, this much by agents, or I want agents to be doing these things. People always overshoot what agents should do. They always want the magic agent to do everything. And then you have to give them the reality that, okay, would you really trust an agent to do this for you? And then their questions would be no, no, no. Their answers would be no. And then you would say, okay, so then who is going to be responsible? Because if agent is doing this part, the work has to be fallen on a human so that they can review and they can approve XYZ that the agent is submitting as an outcome. And that's where I think people start thinking about, wow, this is more complex than I thought. A human agent system is not as simple, but basically what we have done with WorkLayer is this building block of permissions, decisions, which human is responsible for which agent, who reports to who. All of that we have kind of built in, so you can go and play around and configure that.
So in when you're rolling out with a company or someone's adopting the system, like you mentioned, everyone's at least touched Claude or ChatGPT in some at least chat interface back and forth, but very few integrate tools into the actual layer of the agent. So are those folks, do they just become your natural champions? Like, do you lean on them to then pull in other people? Is that how you get it going inside an organization?
Yeah, to get going with an org, we basically need a person who is experiencing some pain points. So I can talk about some of the pain points that some of our champions have experienced.
Sure.
One pain point is that, hey, I am the only person who ends up like setting these systems up and I don't get any work done. And now my job has become this. And we say, okay, what would you want? What would you want here? And they say, okay, I want to be able to create these agents, then people can subscribe to them, right? So I create a sales agent in my company, and now other people can subscribe to that sales agent. And once that is done, I don't want to be going and setting up in each individual's computer, right? So here, there are a lot of platforms, including ours, that offers that. Then there are different things I have now become the security admin for this because I understand this the most and people want to use this. And I have been setting up these permissions, but now we want to bring ChatGPT and now I have to manage Claude and ChatGPT both. Is there an easy way for me to just manage all the different agents that connect to one place? So then instead of going to different accounts and setting up your connectors and setting permissions and you have to manage that manually, you basically get one item, one wallet, and you can just say, okay, ChatGPT, Claude, everyone will use these tools. these employees will be able to use these ones, and this is the permission across all of the agents. So that's the second pain point, where when you have become that security admin, you need to be able to control that across all the platforms, and we kind of give you that easy way. So that's software layer. And the final is also cloud agents is what we are recently solving. So a lot of the teams that are advanced, where a lot of consulting companies actually have been recently using Claude a lot with skills, because a lot of the consulting workflows, especially when it comes to delivery, can be done extremely well by Claude Cowork. So what they want right now is they want to be able to automate a bunch of these workflows that work really well. So they have figured out we have these skills that work really well. The outputs and inputs are most of the time correct. And we have this person that will check at the end, and then, we will submit that draft. Or even after a meeting, this is the session that Claude is going to do with the person or with the BD rep who did the meeting. And then based on the notes, it's going to go and then take the next actions, right? So those kind of workflows, they are something that people want to automate. Another example of automation that people want to do is, okay, I do meetings, and I promise people that I'll follow up with like X, Y, and Z item, right? And right now they have a skill that they run manually that says, okay, go through my last 4 days and tell me what have I promised to people. Give me a list by person, so each person, and then things that I need to do for that person. And once you have that list, it's very easy for you to go out in the real world and like do and take those actions or make introductions, etc. So here, people run this skill randomly. Sometimes they forget, sometimes they don't. And now this champion is saying, can I just, like, some people are old, they are in their 40s, like late 40s, 50s, early 50s, and they were never tech savvy, but they have like great consulting experience, and that's why they are in this field, and we want them to be able to be up to date, right? And there's nothing to do with age. It's just a lot of people are tech savvy, and then they do it that way. A lot of people don't. But here he wants everyone to be able to use this, and I think a better UX there is, can you just get an email every day of the promises you have made and promises you have kept? And then as you fulfill those promises, you can check those off. And that workflow, doing that with the agent chat is not that great. So having a cloud agent just kind of do that. You text it back that like, hey, I've completed these things, and you get that in the text message. That is the type of work that like now people are looking for, is that end state automation on what is the good UX for a person to provide feedback. What is a good interface for the agent to keep doing work? And if agent is doing work in the background, and if it's a dumb automation, as in it just sends me notification every morning, and if I don't look at that, it's a useless automation. How do you make it smart, right? Like, how do you make the agent, and this is where the open Claude style heartbeat comes into place. If you have not responded for the last 3 days, it can just nag you a little bit and say, okay, let's at least get like 2 follow-ups done so that I can mark this done. And it has intelligence layer there where its goal is to help you clear out the follow-ups. And now now you're creating an agent that is more designed for a human than more designed for an automation. So those are the kind of problems that are for the frontier people who are, automating a lot with their skills, but everything is a routine and a dumb automation, and they want it to be a smart agent.
So, I mean, I think you, just to unpack some of what you said, there was a lot there. So the AI fluency changes from generations, right? Like, some people are coming into the workforce. You have to be AI fluent day one. Yeah. Others have existed for 10, 20, 30 years. But you're mentioning that there's a graduation from creating a skill that comes back to you, and you actually turn to an editor, to now almost like you accept the agent can be an author. What have your users had that moment or shared with you, like, this is what made me think this is possible? Is it just reps? Like, they're using it often enough to see this can be autonomous. It doesn't need my like editing all the time. Is that one of the key things? I'm curious, because for me, that's what it was. It was just reps that unlocked it for me.
Well, so reps is something that definitely helps, and that's how people have been doing it. They've been trying to figure out a way without reps, like how do you diffuse knowledge within a company without reps? And I think a lot of people have talked about this, which is put an agent in Slack and let people use it, and let other people see how other people are using it. And I think that's the biggest way to do knowledge diffusion of what agents can do and cannot do. So the champions who are well-versed in what kind of skills, they are the only ones who build skills. Other people are not building skills still. And what this person does is they put this Slack agent, which is very easy to create on our platform. You one-click deploy to Slack. So now you have this custom agent let's say it's doing CRM updates, and this person will go and say, okay, I just did this meeting, update these notes based on this meeting from Granola, right? And then it would go and look
Right.
into it. And the cool thing is, because we are the one password layer, when I talk to that agent, it uses my Granola or my Fathom or my Google Meets. When you use the same agent in the same Slack, it will use your apps, right? And basically you get this control of like, okay, it's the same agent, but it has aware of like which person's using it. And there's also agent credentials. So sometimes you don't want agent to use user's credential, but you want to give agent their own credential. It could be their
Right.
own email ID. It could be their own Google Drive. So that's shared. And we also offer that. So those are the kind of things that I think are the biggest leap when it comes to people just kind of expanding their horizons on what agents can do. Yeah. In a company, that is the best way to diffuse knowledge.
To like have it on display. Like
On
you said,
display,
like
multiplayer.
Yeah.
So one person can message,
Right.
second person can chime in. And,
Yeah.
And imagine like what happens at a company. So this consulting company that we're working with, a lot of people are, experts that they have worked for over 30 plus years of experience. They're very good and very sharp with like the knowledge that they have accumulated. They don't know anything about what agents can do. And then there are these young people who are in charge of doing a lot of putting up the decks and all that together. And they have built these skills to say, okay, go and build this deck out based on like our workshop session very quickly. And this person didn't have to build any skill, anything. It just had the Slack agent available to just tag it and say, okay, now can you build a Slack deck for me? And this works extremely well because I don't think everyone needs to learn how to use agents anyways. It just needs to be available and you can start using it. It just needs to be there when you need it. And Slack is one great way to do it. iMessage is another one, but iMessage is human to human and it's more like personal assistant. But the surface really matters. If you do it Discord, it's more community. If you do it Slack, it's more internal use. You can also have community and customer support agents on Slack with customer channels. So there's always different, I think just the layer of like where people use it changes what the agent can actually do. It's very cool.
Yeah. So would you say like something has to change inside organizations for this to become like an isolated productivity gain to more company wide? And for you, like the single biggest unlock is making it accessible, like truly accessible in a very simple way. Like Slack is probably one of the most simplest way an internal team member can access it. And then from there, I guess it's just leaning into it and trying. Like, would you say just like you have to make the leap? There is nothing there's no in between aside from making the leap?
I don't think so. Like the Slack thing has been crazy in terms of adoption.
Yeah.
Once a Slack agent exists, the number of messages sent to an agent like chart spikes very, very fast. So we think that this is our wedge. We are going to eventually do Microsoft Teams once the Slack thing has been working really well and we have exhausted it. But right now, just so many companies already use Slack. There's a big market just right there. And I don't think we have exhausted all the different techniques just with Slack yet. So we are still exploring like, okay, how do we even like spread this adoption like wildfire on top of Slack? But right now, it's just like Slack is bringing so much usage that, it's interesting.
Do you see a nearby future where the Slack agent is one of the champions acting on behalf of WorkLayer to get people involved and starting using it inside their company?
Yeah, we are exploring this agent that is just going to be our company brand that you can also install. And it becomes this entry point. So you don't need to create your custom Slack bot or Slack agent. Just install this from the market. And it has all the information on how to set up our account or our company's account. You can create custom agents. And then you can also use it as a personal assistant. So but this is very similar to what Claude does. So in product sense, it might just feel like, okay, it's a copy product, but really what we're trying to build in is, okay, how do you really use WorkLayer? And I wouldn't call it more of an internal AI champion, even though that's a really good idea. We should really look into it, that instead of a person being the champion, it can be an agent. It is this forward deployed engineer. The way we are describing it is you can bring your problems to it and it will give you ideas on how to solve it. Right now, the AI champions do a little bit more than that. They're not forward deployed engineers. They are basically going and building this out and then helping you like teach it and doing the full loop, versus this agent is just kind of giving you information. It would be nice if it could go back and build everything and then do what the forward deployed engineers actually do or these AI champions actually do. So
yeah, no, that's a great point. I think so. Human in the loop has been used predates like widespread usage of AI, but it seems like we're going into this era where it's like a bridge until agents improve to a point where they're self-governing and they can like perform at a very high level. But do you see it as a permanent feature or of like responsible agent systems in companies where there will always be a human actor in the loop?
This is a very philosophical on how you believe the world works.
Yeah.
For me, the world works because someone is paying for something, right? Like the economy,
Okay.
basically. It works because a
Right.
person is paying for something, convenience, services, goods, commodity. And at the end of the day, the wallet is with a person, right? So even if like you're building a product that is used by other AI agents, at the end of the day, behind that person is a wallet. Behind that agent is a person with a wallet that's paying
Right.
for, so let's say you have a product that, agents can use and pay you to use your product. Like it could be a search tool. Still, at the end of the day, there's a person is what my point is. So the way I see your question is the human in the loop part. Let's say Amazon or any company is more and more getting automated, or even a small company with like 10 employees is automating. What I see is that, yes, that company will be able to do more. I don't see one person company, really. I can see 10 people
Right.
company running, because you have to think psychologically, one person company is very lonely. No one cares.
Yeah, agreed.
It's very lonely. It's if something breaks, let's say as a one person company, now that the bar has been raised at what a company can do because everyone's using agents. If a one person company tries to survive in that, you have all these automated systems working for you. If one fails, okay, you can pay attention to that and fix it. If two fails, three fails, you have to go and fix three in a row. And now think of like how big your operation is. If 100 fails at the same time, you are the sole responsible to fix those 100 things. And it's very difficult. Your servers could go down, systems could go down. So how people will create companies and how people will put agents in the work is, yes, one person will be responsible to do a lot of things, but you would design it almost in a way where if cascading failures do happen, you still have enough people responsible in the layer that can take those things out. Right. So you would have the agent layer, which will be just agents doing work. And then you would have human layer. And one simple way is to think one person responsible for these 100 agents, but that's not the way. You might just keep your agent layer with like 1 million agents, and you would have 100 people hired who are basically on call. And whenever something breaks, they go and fix that. Right. And generally something is breaking because there's 1 million agents going on. So that's one way human in the loop does come into play. Even if there's full automation, you would have that. The human in the loop people do today is like letting agent use a tool, not use a tool, or basically agent asks a question and then you respond. And all that stuff, I can see that can get automated away because at the end of the day, it's just data. Right now, agents are collecting by asking you questions. Once that is formed into a skill, it can be created in a way where, okay, intelligence is good enough, tools are stable enough, harness is durable enough. This is all going to run behind the scenes. But when failures do happen, that's like the real human in the loop that I think. And I don't think there's a world where people go away. We just will find like the higher, like our dreams and ambitions are bigger than AI's dreams and ambitions today. I don't know that in 10 years, if AIs are able to set their own goals and work on their own thing, and they have their own economy, they have wallets now. That's a different world. That's where the scary part comes in. But in this world right now, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, I just don't see agents getting their own like identity, goals, money, and navigation of the real world. Like even if they do that, they're not in a robot body today. Robots are not that good enough where they can be their own entity. At the end of the day, they can only do stuff on the computer, and they'll still come to you and say, hey, I need this work done. And they might pay you for that to go and take action in real world. And that's still human in the loop. So there's like very interesting ways to think about it. But yeah, I am a very much of a person who thinks that we as people are always good enough to navigate the world. The worry of like us not having any job to do is true, but it's only transitionary. It's right now it's true. We'll find something else to do very soon.
So I guess like you're just to summarize, and correct me if I'm wrong, your take is like, as long as there's an economic imperative for a human to act with machines, there'll always be something to do in the broader economy, which is like, I think, okay. No, that makes sense. And one thing you were saying in one of the, just now, was that if you were a one-person company and you have to govern all these actions, things break and they cascade. I can't remember where it posted or where you presented about self-healing code, like self-healing engineering workflows. I'd love for you just to explain that quickly, and even if you can share an example of self-healing code base, like in your own work. I think that'd be really good for people to hear.
Yeah. So self-healing code base is basically an agent running in a loop. Every morning it goes, looks at production data, goes, looks at feedback users have submitted on the app. It goes, looks at our live QA testing that we have done asynchronously throughout the previous day. It takes all that, synthesizes it, dumps it into a database. Right now we're using Notion for that. It's a very simple process from post hoc to Notion. And there's the skill in between that does the conversion, right? Because post hoc just has logs and then you want them converted to issues. This is not that difficult. The second part is also another agent running autonomously in a loop. Every 4 p.m. it goes and checks the database, Notion database. If anything is marked for the agent to do, it will pick that out, spin up a PR, complete the PR, test it, and then let it put it on a PR stack for us to review. So it's these two things that I presented as like this one entire system called self-healing code base that if something breaks in production, user experiences an error, automatically converts to issue, that issue gets picked up and that gets. We had a human in the loop there. So the morning agent runs at 9 a.m. and then the evening one runs at 4 p.m. And if there is one person who goes in, there's a dashboard that we have built. And you basically can press 1, 2, or 3 as a button. So if you press 1, you say assign to agent. If you press 2, assign to a user. 3, this is not really an issue. Let's discard it. And you can just press that 1, 2, 3 button and the issues will like keep popping up. And we build this UI, a special review UI for a person to go in and quickly annotate and they can also add a comment if they want there with just like pressing a button C, right? So we made it very frictionless for the person to go in and just review these issues that are being queued up by the agent. So human is the bottleneck here because we didn't want to waste tokens on issues that should not be solved, right? Yeah. And deduping the issues is the work of the first agent. Making PRs is the work of the second agent. But the second agent only acts on items that are queued for the agent. So even the first one like puts 100 items in, if those 100 items are not reviewed by a human, the second one doesn't pick up. Do we get to a point where the human is not needed when the agent is really working well, like both of the agents are working well? Yes, we can remove that human in the loop review item. At the end of the day, you still review the PRs that you're merging in because you care about the code. Now, at some point, you can say, okay, agents are so good at writing code, you don't even need that. Sure, that's great. Now your bugs are completely fixing automatically and you're not doing anything. And the only thing maybe you're doing is monitoring the system and checking if like which bugs it's picking, which one it's fixing, why it's making these decisions, etc. But at the end of the day, you're still there because the software that I am building is for a user. And if our users start complaining that this is not working or these features are, bloating the product, that's still a feedback that comes as a meta channel. So there's all these different things. But yeah, that's basically what our self-healing code base was. It was a demo of showing people that, look, this is the starting. And this was a few months ago. I think this was during Toronto Tech Week in May, end of May.
Yeah, that's right.
Or early June. So now it's August. So people have been doing this more and more now. So this might not feel that crazy today. But in May, when we did this, we really felt that, wow, there's this software factory that people can create, but you really need to have control. Like some issues we experienced were PRs getting stacked and no one has time to review it. And then we had to like break the loop. And then other one was like issues are coming in, but they weren't being deduped, as in agent found this issue today, logged it. Next day, same issue comes in, logs it as a separate issue. And now you have two same issues in the dashboard. And the way we solved it is like, okay, let's just improve the skill on the issue side. Let's improve the skill on this implementation side. And one of the things that we added was a control loop. So if there are more than 5 PRs waiting, the implementation agent would just say, hey, you are not like picking up the work, so I'm not going to do the work. Right. Okay. So you can design these kind of controls in your loop so you don't waste tokens. And these are the kind of things that I think about a lot is every task you want automatic outcomes, but you also want to like control when those outcomes keep happening. If humans are not reviewing it, what's the point of like doing that outcome? Because that work is what I call slop productivity, right? You're just like generating slop, no one's checking, and it's just getting parked and it's useless.
So part of token efficiency from your perspective is to actually pull people into the workflow consistently to ensure they're engaging, essentially.
Today, yeah, because you can create closed loop systems, right? So
Right.
in the concept of control theory, there is open loop systems and closed loop systems. Open loop systems are where a system happens and feedback is not received back in the next run. In closed loop systems, some work happens, feedback comes in via the sensor, and then basically the system can stabilize. So airplanes balancing themselves out, it's a PID controller. It's a control loop because every sensor information is coming back in and it's taking the action. So if it moves this way too much, it can move back and then it can stabilize. Same way, any stabilizer system like camera gyros, they work this way. So if you take that same concept out, there are things where you can do closed loop systems with agents. If a really good example is, are you familiar with front end and React as a framework? Okay. So people use React to create front ends. There's this really cool test library called React Doctor, made by this guy on Twitter. He makes a lot of like interesting front end tools. React Doctor gives your code base a score of how good your React system is, how efficient it is, what like good and bad. And it's a really good library, right? Like you can run it against your entire React app. It can give you a score. Now you can think of creating an agent, a closed loop system, where every morning it needs to go, analyze and find any inefficiencies, fix that, run React Doctor. And if React Doctor increases the score and this issue is fixed and it's good, go and merge automatically. And the whole goal of the system is to increase the React health score of your system. Right. And if you let this agent run, all it's doing is optimizing the front-end code. You have given it instructions to not change any functionality. You have put an adversarial review agent who doesn't implement it, but just goes and checks the PR after implementation to check if this is changing any functionality for the user. If it doesn't, then it can go merge it. So now this is a fully closed loop system, and you can set this system just on the go and not have to worry about it at all, right? So if there are verifiable results and you can have a score and a metric that agent can monitor and keep improving, this is what people do with /goal or other type of things, right? Like they're running agents for days or weeks. And I have not seen any like good use other than programming for this, because programming is the only one where you can close the loop and verify the rewards. But any optimization, like your web app is taking like a few seconds to load, throw agent at it and it can figure out. And then at the end of the day, you can just look at the code and say, this is up to my code quality or not. But that's like the only thing you care about. If you don't even care about code quality and you just assume like in this agent world that code is just like assembly, I don't really want to look at it. As long as the system's working and no one's complaining, I'm just going to throw it. It's great. And I think we'll get to that world, right? We'll not be looking at our code. A lot of people don't look at their code today.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I've seen examples of folks using Devin, the engineering AI agent, just like autonomously. It's just pushing and merging without much oversight. But like to your point, I think there still has to be like a rubric or a benchmark to which things are measured. So maybe there's a future where those are also agent driven, or maybe that's now. Maybe people are measuring against agent rubrics or measurement systems.
Yeah. And I mean, this becomes the job, right? If we are trying to say what will people do, is people will design how do you give feedback to the agents. So and every time you can build, like you can even think about it this way. Open loop systems, as in agents doing work in an open loop system, will be more costly because human is in the review step somewhere, at least once. A closed loop system like the React Doctor thing, they will be commoditized to just the cost of goods, because a closed loop system at the end of the day doesn't need a person, which means it's just software. Anyone can create that software. Software creation is so cheap right now. So as long as you have a verifiable test for the agent and it's open source, which React Doctor is, it's a commodity. That loop is a commodity. You cannot build a product out of it because you will get margin to zero. But let's say you have a custom verifier that no one else has been able to build out, and you have a closed loop system no one else has. You actually have a very profitable business, because for you, it's fully automated. For others, it's not. And no one knows how you're closing that loop. Another one is just logistics, operations business. Most of it is automated. A part of it is done by humans when agent does need that feedback, and that whole system works in an economy of scale. And that is a really good example. I worked at a company called Fathom. And before LLMs were a thing, transformers were still a thing. LLMs were still a thing, but they were BERT models. It wasn't GPT model. So we were training a BERT model to do medical coding. And medical coding basically is, you go to a doctor, you explain everything. They're usually typing, or now they are using scribes to record everything. That's called an encounter. You encountered with a doctor, doctor wrote down what you are experiencing, all that. That encounter then converts to diagnosis and prognosis, and then those goes to the insurance company. Actually, those gets converted to medical codes and then goes to insurance company for billing. So then insurance company has medical coders that will verify that, okay, because of this diagnosis, this is the amount of billing that they're asking, and it matches the actual encounter's notes and the patient's notes. And that's like a whole process. What Fathom was trying to do was automate it using language models. So you throw the text, raw text of the encounter here, you get the medical codes out here, and it's as accurate as possible. And the way we went to market with this initially was we didn't have the system working. So we went to, like, one customer was interested in doing this. They were sending out their volume to overseas company. Fathom just said, hey, we will do this at like 50% the cost. And they took the cost, they had the labelers label, get that data, they created that data from nothing. And now that they had the data,
wow.
They started training the model. And now 80%, 85%, even 90% of those records are automated, and 10% are still going to people because the model is saying a score is not high enough. And this is a very traditional like machine learning. It's not using LLMs like today. They build big models, like foundational models, pretty much for this. And it's a very profitable company running today. Series B. They raised Series B. They are probably going to raise Series C soon. And yeah, it's just like those kind of systems is how I see the world is going to move. Is you will either own a workflow where verification is very hard, and you can build out a team, and agents are doing most of it, and some people are coming in to fill in that gap. Because at the end of the day, that's the easiest way to get a service. If I want something done, I don't care if agent is doing it or I'm doing it with my agent. I just care if it's done or not. And if I can send it out to you and then you can give me the result back, it's more like a BPO type of model for those kind of things. And then other things could be, I want my agent to do it. And that's more like, me setting up my agent, and because I want control over data, I want control over things. I don't want to give you that access to my data.
Right. Looking, just to switch gears for a second, looking into the future, what did you personally believe about agents, say 12 months ago, that you don't believe any longer?
Very good question. These kind of questions always catch me off guard, but I'll think about it. The reason they catch me off guard is because I never think like this. It's like, oh, what did this happen that I never happened?
Okay.
What's like the funniest thing?
Yeah. That's fair.
But this is a good question because it does make you reflect on, okay, what were your priors a year ago? I think it's very little that I don't believe. I think the only thing that has changed is actually I now have way more trust of, or I would say, I think it came way faster than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
I still believe everything is going to be possible, but I thought by end of this year, we would be at this stage, and we already passed that in March of this year, right? So let's say January of this year, I had some predictions. I thought by end of this year, we would at least have, this dynamic workflow thing, XYZ, and this is how the agents would do it, and I can see it. And then Claude released dynamic workflow around March sometime, and I was just shocked that, wow, this came so much faster than I thought, and it actually works. Because my predictions are mostly based on how fast the model improves. And so far, I have not been able to catch that exponential mentally, even though I projected that, okay, but I always projected from the past experience, and humans, we are very bad at the exponential. So the only thing that surprises me is like my predictions on how fast models are improving is not accurate for some reason.
I mean, I think you're joining every single other human being on Earth.
Yeah,
I think like when every interview you hear from the frontier labs, the leaders are shocked at the progression.
Yeah.
So I think that's very fair. Don't be too hard on yourself on that prediction. I don't think anyone's getting
the prediction,
it right.
Everyone knows how it would turn out, and you're like, okay, by this time we would have this, and then it comes early, and it's a surprise. It's a good thing, right? Like it's a good that it's happening faster.
Yeah. And so just moving, if it's okay to wrap up, I want to ask you just a few quick questions, quick answers. One question I had for you is, what business leader or builder influences you and how you build out a WorkLayer, or just how you operate day to day?
I think the North Star is always Steve Jobs in terms of...
Okay, nice.
Like I still listen to a lot of Steve Jobs' old interviews. I would have, like, if you go to my YouTube history, some of the interviews would be over 100 times. That's just because there was so much profound insights in simple sentences that were captured. But recently, I would also say Travis Kalanick from Uber has been more public recently. And I have watched every single interview of his as well. And it's always very inspiring to listen to him, because after you listen to him, you realize that, oh wow, the world is not as restricted as you thought it was. Like you can really take big swings. So recently, I would say I've been enjoying his sort of like interviews that he's been doing. He did one with TBPN. He did one with A16Z. Listened to both
Yep.
of them. They were great.
So I guess the common thread there is both of them are contrarians. Like they think against the grain, both Jobs and Travis.
Yeah, I feel like Jobs has. So Steve Jobs is just, it's like so fundamentally human, right? It's,
Right.
you start with the human experience and build back towards technology. And these are lessons that technologists and engineers like myself forget often. And we look at the agent, what it can do, and then we try to take it to market. And it should always be, and I think when you go reverse, I think that's when you innovate, because if human wants this experience and that's not available, you go and figure it out. So 2 years ago, if companies were doing voice AI, they were just looking at what models were available and they did that, versus GPT has been pushing boundaries. Some other voice companies or AI labs have been pushing boundaries of duplex voice mode. And without that, if you're just an engineer building on existing models, it's not going to work. So if you think from Steve Jobs' lens, your ambition becomes bigger, that, okay, the duplex mode is not on, as in if I talk, agent stops, and if agent talks, I have to stop, and etc. And I have to interrupt. That's not the way human conversation works. And if you just take that perspective, your goal then becomes, okay, let me hire researchers who can actually do this. Let me go raise more money. Makes your ambition bigger. And same with Travis as well. He always looks at the final state of how the system, how the world should be. His real model right now is that there's physical computer, there's a bits computer, which is what we use today, but there's also atoms computer, and that's what he's trying to build, which is this company Atoms. That was also very interesting for me, because he looks at the world as the final state, and he's trying to build the hard technology to get to that stage, not just what's available in the market. Let me build a product around it and let me sell it. That's literally 99% of the businesses in the world. And the 1% that innovate, they go back from like the end state to what they need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think having proof of doing it once before helps a lot on this current venture he's moving forward with.
Yeah.
And just for yourself, what do you do to quiet your mind outside of building WorkLayer?
Yeah. Meditation is mostly what I do. Okay. I have been doing it less and less, but I do want to get back into it. It's the best way I've found peace when a lot of things are happening.
Yeah. So are you not at peace now, moving away from meditation? Do you feel like...
No, I feel like my mind's running in like 100 other directions all the time. And it's so energizing to let it run. I think this is one of the things where you don't know how much you miss your peace until you meditate and find it. So right now, it's just like, oh, this thing we need to launch. We have this new product coming out. And you wake up in the morning and you're like, I have 100 things to do. Let me just go do them instead of like sit down and meditate. Sometimes it's beneficial to take that hour out, because you might clear your thoughts. And that's why I want to do it more. It's not because of the peace, but it's because maybe I'm missing something and I have 100 things and maybe I could cut 90 of them. And maybe meditation and that calm and peace will tell me which 90 to cut. That's where it really comes in handy. So it saves time by like taking your hour, basically.
Yeah. It allows your brain to process in a different way. I hope you get back to it. I know you're launching a new product, so it's probably quite chaotic. But lastly, just before I let you go, what does success look like for you personally? Like, what does it ultimately look like?
Yeah. So for me, what I really am obsessed about right now is getting agents to do work that we don't really like doing. And my work is already like that. I am not doing a lot of the works that I hated. I am doing a lot of strategic thinking, sitting in front of like 100. At this point, I probably have 20, 40 sessions open. That doesn't mean I have agent running in every single one of them. It's just 20, 40 different threads that are doing different work open. And then I can go and inject my thoughts into different ones whenever I have time. And some have high priority, so they are the first one where I inject my thought. Other ones can be like, they're still for a 7 days, right? But this is the high strategy work that I'm doing, where I can have 40 threads open and every single thing is recorded and I'm just talking. I think this can be a lot of people's job, right? You go in and you just talk to your computer and actions are being done behind the scenes for you. You're not doing the manual drag and drop and all that. You're not changing the words in spreadsheet. You're just reviewing, you're giving your opinions. This is what CEOs and leaders today do anyways. They have assistants, they have people hired to do that. I think we can bring that to every single job. which means you basically take human from doing manual labor, or even manual labor on computer is just like clicking and doing all that, to just thinking, just going from your brain to results. That's what we are obsessed about. So for us, success is doing that. But the best way to measure it is how much of, like, let's say token consumption today comes from like certain products, Claude Code, Cursor, Codex. A bunch of products have like the biggest chunk of it. Open code is also like a very big piece now. And you can think of the inference, like the GPUs running are coming through some product surface and then going to the GPU, right? They're not like just people using APIs themselves. There's only developers who are doing that, but they're building a product, and then still end users are doing most of it. So our goal is that we become a product surface that drives up the GPU inference, because a lot of build out is happening behind the scenes. And at the end of the day, we just want to drive that GPU usage up, more intelligence that people want to use. They can find that product surface through us, the same way they found through Cursor, the same way they found through Codex and Claude Code when those things came out and it just took. So our new product launch is basically that. We are looking ways, and our success metric is that at the end of the day, we have so much usage passing through us that we have to buy our own GPU data center, right? And then we have to serve our own inference for our own customers. So that's like the real success. Either we partner with SpaceX and take like, have a big contract with them to have like 5 dedicated like data centers for us, or it's like something that we just have to physically invest in, either on land or on space, and get some company to build it out for us.
Wow. And this, I mean, that is a well-articulated, ambitious goal for the agents that you're or the future you're building out for humans to work very closely with agents. So
yeah, and it all comes with the product layer. If the product layer is good, which is, I think Cursor actually accomplished the goal that I want to do. They build a product so good, and now they are partnered. Basically, they got acquired by SpaceX, and now they're going to even increase the usage of agents even more, right?
Sure.
So there are companies that are already sort of like proven out this concept that you can start from the product layer and then you can move up to like the inference layer. Basically, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I wish you all the best on your pursuit. I mean, as someone who's met you before this podcast and plans to use your products, I think it's awesome what you're working on. So we'll wrap there. This is really good. I really enjoyed speaking with you, Millin. Thank you for joining us today.
It was a great chat.